They were a gentle people. They had lived among the stars for 3,000 years, trading goods, sharing knowledge, and making friends with every species they met. They had no army. They had no warships. They had never needed them. Their world, Prime, was a beautiful green planet full of forests and rivers and cities made of crystal that caught the sunlight and scattered rainbows across the land. But now those cities were burning. Ambassador ran through the broken streets of the capital. His silver skin was covered in dust and ash. Behind him, the great communication tower still stood, though fires burned at its base. He had to reach it. He had to send the message. It was their only hope. They had come 3 days ago. They arrived without warning, their dark ships filling the sky like a swarm of hungry insects. And that is exactly what they were. They were insect creatures, tall and cruel, with sharp claws and empty eyes. They did not come to conquer. They did not come to negotiate. They came to feed. Had watched from his office window as the first ships landed in the city center. He had watched as thousands of his people tried to run. He had watched as they hunted them down one by one. Now, after 3 days of horror, he finally reached the communication tower. The door was broken, but the equipment inside still worked. His hands shook as he turned on the transmitter and set it to broadcast on all frequencies. To anyone who can hear this, he spoke into the device. This is Ambassador of the Council. We are under attack. The swarm has broken through the quarantine zone. They are killing us. Our cities are destroyed. Our people are dying by the millions. He paused, trying to control his voice. Outside, he could hear explosions in the distance. We have no weapons. We have no soldiers. We cannot fight them. Please, whoever you are, wherever you are, send us anything. Send us help. We will take whatever you can spare. Old ships, broken weapons, retired soldiers, anything at all. We are being massacred and we cannot save ourselves. Closed his eyes. There was one more thing he needed to say. To the humans of the Sol Alliance, we remember when you first came to the Galactic Council. We remember when the other species wanted to reject you, to keep you locked in your own solar system. We spoke for you. We said you deserved a chance. We ask you now to remember that kindness. Please help us. He ended the transmission and sat down heavily on the floor. He did not know if anyone would come. He did not know if anyone even cared. The galaxy was a big place, and there were a small people with no power and no wealth. Why would anyone risk their lives for them? 14 light-years away, on a blue planet called Earth, the message arrived. Admiral Park sat in his command chair at the Sol Alliance Naval Command Center. The room around him was filled with officers working at computer screens, tracking ship movements and monitoring communications from across human space. It was a normal day until the transmission came through. The Admiral listened to the entire message without moving. His face showed no emotion, but inside his heart was heavy. He remembered Ambassador speaking at the Council meeting 15 years ago, defending humanity's right to join the galactic community. They had been kind when no one else was. "Sir," said Commander, stepping up beside him. She was a tall woman with short black hair and sharp eyes. "The system is 14 days away at normal speed, even if we send our fastest ships by the time they arrive." "I know," said quietly. "Show me what we have nearby." The main screen changed to show a star map. Red dots marked human military vessels. Most were far away, patrolling the borders or stationed at major colonies. But there was one dot that caught the Admiral's attention. It was blue instead of red, meaning it was a new ship still being tested. "What is that?" he asked, pointing at the blue dot. Lieutenant checked her computer. "That's the Hammer of Souls, sir, our new star destroyer. It's at the shipyards finishing its final tests. It's only 6 days from Prime if it takes the corridor." The room went silent. Everyone knew about the Hammer of Soul. It was the biggest and most powerful warship humanity had ever built. 3 kilometers long, armed with weapons that could crack planets and shields that could survive a direct hit from a nuclear bomb. The other species in the galaxy had been nervous when they heard about it. Some had even protested to the council, saying humans were too young and too aggressive to have such power. Admiral smiled. It was not a happy smile. "Contact Captain," he said. "Tell her the testing phase is over. She has a new mission." Commander looked uncertain. "Sir, the Hammer of Soul has never been in real combat. We don't know if all its systems work properly, and the crew is still new. They've only been training together for 6 months." "Then this will be excellent practice," said. He stood up and looked around the room at all his officers. They asked for anything. They expected us to send some old patrol boats and maybe a few volunteers. They expected us to do the minimum. He paused. "We are going to send them a star destroyer, and we are going to show the galaxy what happens when you attack the friends of humanity." Far away in space, on the bridge of the Hammer of Soul, Captain received her orders. She read them twice, then looked up at the stars visible through her viewport. "Set course for Prime," she said calmly. "Maximum speed." The hunt was about to begin. Captain stood at the center of her bridge, watching the stars blur past the viewports as her ship traveled faster than light itself. The Hammer of Soul was moving at speeds that would have been impossible just 50 years ago. Human engineers had pushed the boundaries of physics, and now their greatest creation was racing to save a dying world. Was 38 years old. She had spent 20 years in the Navy, working her way up from a simple pilot to the commander of humanity's most powerful warship. She was calm, patient, and extremely dangerous when she needed to be. Her crew loved her because she treated them fairly. Her enemies feared her because she never lost. "Captain," said Lieutenant Commander O from his station. He was in charge of tracking enemy movements and planning attacks. "We're receiving new information from Prime. The situation is getting worse." The main screen changed to show It was a beautiful planet, green and blue like Earth, but now it was covered in red marks showing where they had landed. Each red mark meant thousands of dead. "How many casualties?" asked. Looked down at his screen. His voice was quiet when he answered. 47 million in the first 3 days. They are not taking prisoners, they are eating them." A cold silence fell over the bridge. Every officer stopped what they were doing. They were known throughout the galaxy as monsters. They consumed other species not just for food, but to take their genetic material. Entire civilizations had disappeared into stomachs over the centuries, until the major powers finally pushed them back and created a quarantine zone around their home cluster. But now they had broken free, and the peaceful were paying the price. "How much longer until we arrive?" asked. Ensign checked her navigation computer. She was young, only 22, but she was one of the best pilots in the fleet. 18 hours, Captain. Nodded. "Open a communication channel to the government, whatever is left of it." The screen flickered and the face of Ambassador appeared. He looked terrible. His silver skin was dull and gray. Dark circles surrounded his eyes. Behind him could see smoke and hear distant explosions. "You came," whispered. His voice was filled with disbelief. "We sent the message to everyone, but we did not really believe anyone would come, especially not so quickly." "We came," Ambassador said. "I am captain of the Sol Alliance Star Destroyer Hammer of Soul. We will be in your system in 18 hours. How is your situation?" Shook his head slowly. "Bad, very bad. The control most of the northern continent. They are moving south now. We have maybe 100 million people left hiding in the forests and mountains, but they are hunting them. Every hour more die." His eyes hardened. "How many enemy ships in orbit?" "Over 60. We counted 63 before they destroyed our satellites. They also have hundreds of small fighter craft and dozens of landing ships bringing more soldiers to the surface." 63 warships. That was a full invasion fleet. They were not just raiding. They were planning to consume the entire planet. "Ambassador, I need you to do something for me," said. "Anything. Tell your people to hold on. Tell them to hide, to survive, to not give up hope, and tell them to look at the sky tomorrow. They are going to see something that has never happened before in the history of the galaxy." Stared at her through the screen. "Captain, with respect, you have only one ship. They have 63. Even humans cannot defeat those numbers." Smiled. It was a cold smile, the kind that would make her enemies nervous if they could see it. "Ambassador, you asked us to send you anything. You expected old ships and retired soldiers. Instead, we sent you the most advanced warship ever created by any species in the galaxy. This ship has weapons that can destroy a small moon. It has shields that can survive flying through a star. It carries 2,000 of the most highly trained soldiers in human space." She leaned forward slightly. "They have spent centuries believing they are the ultimate predators. Tomorrow, they are going to learn what it feels like to be prey." The communication ended and turned to face her crew. Every officer on the bridge was watching her, waiting for orders. "Listen carefully," she said. "In 18 hours we will enter the system. We will be outnumbered more than 60 to 1. The enemy believes they have already won. They believe this planet belongs to them now." She walked slowly across the bridge, looking at each crew member in turn. "They are wrong. This ship was built for exactly this kind of fight. Every weapon, every system, every piece of technology was designed to face overwhelming odds and win. But more importantly, this crew was chosen because you are the best humanity has to offer. You have trained for this moment your entire careers." She stopped at the front of the bridge and looked out at the stars. "They helped us when we were new and alone in the galaxy. They spoke for us when everyone else wanted to keep us trapped on Earth. Now they need our help, and we are going to give them something they never expected." She turned back to face her crew. "We are going to give them victory. All hands prepare for battle. Tomorrow we show the galaxy what humans can do." Across the Hammer of Sol, 4,000 crew members began preparing for war. In the weapons bays, technicians checked missiles and loaded cannons. In the fighter hangars, pilots ran final tests on their spacecraft. In the medical center, doctors prepared for casualties. In the marine barracks, soldiers cleaned their weapons and said quiet prayers. And in the darkness of space, the great ship continued its journey toward destiny. Hive Commander Al stood on the command deck of his flagship, watching the planet below with satisfaction. Prime was almost conquered. His swarm had consumed nearly 50 million of the soft, weak creatures who lived there. Their genetic material would strengthen the species. Their flesh would feed his warriors. This was the natural order of things. The strong ate the weak. Al had commanded fleets for 40 years. He had conquered 11 worlds and consumed billions of lesser beings. He had never lost a battle. He had never retreated. Victory was all he knew. So when his sensor officer reported a single ship approaching the system, Al felt only amusement. "One ship," he clicked, his mandibles making the harsh sounds of the language. "The lesser races send one ship to stop the swarm." "It appears to be human, Hive Commander," said the sensor officer nervously. "The ship is very large." "Size means nothing. We have 63 warships. Send 15 to destroy it. Do not waste more resources on such a small threat." 15 cruisers broke away from the main fleet and accelerated toward the distant human vessel. Each cruiser was half a kilometer long, armed with plasma cannons and missile batteries. Each carried 500 warriors eager for combat. In the swarm, fighting brought glory, and glory brought advancement in the hive. The warriors on these ships were excited. Easy prey was approaching. They were wrong. On the bridge of the Hammer of Sol, Lieutenant Commander O tracked the approaching enemy ships with calm professionalism. 15 enemy cruisers heading our way, Captain. They will enter weapons range in 3 minutes. Captain nodded. Around her, the bridge crew worked silently at their stations. There was no fear in the room, only focus and determination. "Weapons officer," she said. "Status of main batteries." Sergeant Major checked his console. He was a large man with hands and 20 years of combat experience. Main batteries fully charged, Captain. All 4 barrels ready to fire. The Hammer of Soul carried 4 class spinal cannons. These were the most powerful weapons ever created by humanity. Each cannon drew power directly from the ship's twin antimatter reactors. Each could fire a beam of concentrated plasma so hot that it briefly matched the temperature of a star's surface. No known shield in the galaxy could stop them. "Lock onto the lead ships," said, "Fire on my command." The targeting systems hummed as they tracked the approaching cruisers. On the tactical display, 15 red dots moved closer and closer to the single blue dot that represented the human ship. The commanders were confident. They had faced human vessels before, small patrol ships that they had destroyed easily. They expected this battle to be no different. Their plasma cannons were charging. Their warriors were ready to board the human ship and consume its crew. They never got the chance. "Enemy ships entering optimal range," reported. His voice was ice cold. "Fire." 4 beams of white light shot from the front of the Hammer of Soul. They crossed the distance between the ships in less than a second. They struck the 4 lead cruisers with perfect accuracy. The ships did not explode. They simply disappeared. The plasma beams were so hot that they broke apart the molecules of everything they touched. Metal, flesh, air, it all turned to nothing in an instant. 4 ships carrying 2,000 warriors ceased to exist between one heartbeat and the next. The remaining 11 ships scattered in panic. Their commanders shouted orders, trying to understand what had just happened. Their sensors were confused. Their tactical systems had never recorded weapons like this. No species they had ever faced possessed such technology. "Enemy formation breaking apart," reported. "They're trying to regroup." "Don't let them," said Helm. "Take us forward. All weapons free fire." The Hammer of Soul surged toward the confused enemy ships like a shark swimming toward bleeding fish. Its secondary batteries came alive. Hundreds of turrets rotated and locked onto targets. Each fired solid tungsten shells at a fraction of the speed of light. These shells punched through armor like paper. Point defense lasers swept across space, destroying incoming missiles and fighter craft before they could get close. The ship's fighter squadrons launched from their hangars, 200 Falcon-class interceptors piloted by the best pilots in the human fleet. They fell upon the fighters with deadly precision. In the space of 10 minutes, all 15 cruisers were destroyed. Not one human ship was lost. Not one human life was taken. Back on the flagship, Hive Commander Al stared at his tactical display in disbelief. 15 ships, 3,000 warriors, gone, destroyed by a single enemy vessel. For the first time in his long career, Al felt something cold crawling up his spine. He did not have a word for it. The language did not include a word for fear. They had never needed one. Until now. "All ships," he commanded, his voice no longer confident. "Attack the human vessel, every ship, all weapons, destroy it now." 48 warships turned toward the Hammer of Soul and accelerated to attack speed. Thousands of missiles launched. Hundreds of fighters swarmed forward. Plasma cannons charged to full power. On the bridge of the human ship, Captain watched the approaching swarm without expression. "Here they come," she said quietly. "All hands battle stations. Let's show them what we're made of." The real battle was about to begin. Space around the Hammer of Soul turned into a storm of fire and light. 48 warships attacked from every direction, pouring missiles and plasma bolts at the lone human vessel. The darkness of space lit up with thousands of explosions as weapons clashed against shields. But the Hammer of Soul did not stop. It did not slow down. It charged straight into the heart of the enemy fleet. "Shields holding at 82%, reported Lieutenant Commander from the damage control station. She was tracking every hit, every system, every potential problem across the massive ship. "Good," said Captain. Navigation, roll the ship 30 degrees. Present fresh armor to the enemy. The 3-kilometer warship rotated smoothly in space, turning its undamaged side toward the attacking fleet. At the same time, its weapons never stopped firing. Shells tore through cruisers. Plasma beams cut smaller ships in half. Missiles streaked out in clouds, each one guided by advanced computers to find their targets. A destroyer tried to ram the human ship. It was destroyed by close-range fire before it could get within 100 meters. 3 cruisers attempted a coordinated attack from above, diving down together with all their weapons blazing. The main batteries swung upward and fired. 3 more ships ceased to exist. 16 enemy vessels destroyed, reported, 32 remaining. They were not used to losing. They were the terror of the galaxy, the ultimate predators. Every species they had encountered either fled or died. But these humans did not flee, and they did not die. They fought with a cold, mechanical efficiency that they had never seen before. Hive Commander Al watched from his flagship as ship after ship was destroyed. His claws gripped the command console so hard that the metal bent under his strength. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "It is one ship. How can one ship defeat the swarm?" No one on his bridge had an answer. The tactical displays showed the impossible truth. Human weapons were more powerful. Human shields were stronger. Human tactics were better. Everything they threw at them was stopped or destroyed. And still the human ship kept coming. On the surface of Prime, the people watched the sky with wonder. They had been hiding in caves and forests for days, waiting for death to find them. The ground forces had been hunting them relentlessly, eating anyone they caught. But now, bright flashes of light appeared in the night sky. Ships were exploding in orbit. The communication networks, which had been dead for days, suddenly came alive with a new voice. "Attention survivors," said a human voice in accented but clear galactic standard. "This is Major Nam of the Sol Alliance Marine Corps. Human forces have arrived. We are destroying the enemy fleet. Ground support is coming. Hold on. Help is on the way." In a cave near the burning city a group of refugees heard the message. They looked at each other with disbelief. Old held young ones close. Some began to cry. "They came," whispered one elder. "The humans came." Above them, the battle in space reached its climax. The Hammer of Soul had destroyed 28 warships. 20 remained, and they were starting to lose their will to fight. Some tried to retreat. They did not get far. The human fighters hunted them down and destroyed them. "Launch the," ordered Captain. "Begin ground operations." Massive bay doors opened along the sides of the Star Destroyer. 50 armored flew out, each carrying 40 human Marines in powered combat armor. They descended toward the planet like angry meteors, their hulls glowing red from atmospheric entry. Major Nam led the first wave. She was 34 years old, with muscles hardened by years of training and scars from 3 different combat deployments. Her powered armor made her twice as strong and 3 times as fast as any normal human. The weapons built into her suit could destroy a small building. "All units prepare for landing," she said over the tactical network. "Remember your training, protect the civilians, kill the bugs." They landed in the middle of the largest ground force, a camp of 5,000 warriors who had been preparing to sweep through the southern forests. They turned toward the sound of the landing ships, their mandibles clicking with hunger. Fresh prey had just delivered itself. Then the ramps dropped, and the Marines came out shooting. Human soldiers charged through the lines like a tsunami of fire and steel. Plasma rifles cut down aliens by the dozen. Grenades blasted holes in enemy formations. Marines in powered armor fought warriors hand to hand, their metal fists crushing chitin and bone. They were physically strong. They were natural killers who had evolved to hunt and consume, but they had never faced anything like this. The humans were just as savage, just as deadly, and far better armed. Within an hour, the camp was destroyed. 5,000 alien warriors lay dead. Not a single human marine was killed. "Advance to the next objective," ordered Major, stepping over the body of a commander she had personally killed. "We're not done yet." All across the planet, similar scenes played out. Human marines landed in occupied zones and destroyed everything they found. Civilians emerged from hiding to guide the soldiers to positions. The aliens who had been hunters became the hunted. And in orbit, the last warships were dying. Hive Commander Al's flagship was hit by 3 spinal cannon blasts simultaneously. The great ship broke apart in a silent explosion, and the commander who had never known defeat died screaming in the cold vacuum of space. When the sun rose over Prime the next morning, the invasion force was finished. 63 warships destroyed. Hundreds of thousands of alien warriors killed. The swarm that had threatened to consume an entire civilization had been wiped out in a single day by 1 human ship and 2,000 human soldiers. They looked up at the massive star destroyer hanging in their sky, and they wept with relief and gratitude. The nightmare was over. 2 weeks had passed since the battle. The skies above Prime were clear now, except for the massive shape of the Hammer of Souls still keeping watch in orbit. They were gone, but the scars of their invasion remained. 63 million had died. 3 continents bore the marks of war. Cities that had stood for thousands of years were now ruins. The crystal towers that once scattered rainbows across the land were broken and dark. But they were alive. Their species had survived, and every single one of them knew who to thank for that. Ambassador stood in what remained of the Grand Council chamber. The beautiful dome that had once covered the room was gone, destroyed by bombardment, but human engineers were already working to rebuild it. Dozens of them moved through the ruins with tools and materials, working alongside volunteers. They did not ask for payment. They did not ask for thanks. They simply worked. A shuttle landed in the square outside and walked out to meet it. The doors opened, and Admiral Park stepped down, followed by a group of human diplomats. Behind them came Captain, her arm wrapped in medical bandages from an injury she had received during the ground battle. Approached them slowly. His legs were weak. He had not slept properly in weeks, but he forced himself to stand straight. "Admiral," he said, "Captain, on behalf of the people, I welcome you to our world. What remains of it?" Took his hand in the human style of greeting and shook it firmly. "Ambassador, we came as quickly as we could. I only wish we could have been faster." "You came at all," said, "that is what matters. When we sent our distress call, we did not truly believe anyone would answer. The galaxy is full of species who talk about friendship and alliance, but when danger comes, they look away. They calculate costs and benefits. They decide that helping is too risky, too expensive, too troublesome." He looked at the human standing before him. "But you did not look away. You did not calculate, you simply came, and you brought." He gestured up at the sky, where the outline of the star destroyer was visible even in daylight. "You brought that." Captain smiled slightly. It was a tired smile. She had not slept much either. "We brought what was necessary, Ambassador, nothing more." "Nothing more?" Shook his head in amazement. "Captain, you destroyed an entire invasion fleet with 1 ship. Your soldiers saved millions of my people from being eaten alive. You did in 1 day what the combined forces of 3 galactic powers could not do in 10 years of war against the. They got careless," said. "They spent centuries being the biggest predators in their part of space. They forgot that there's always something bigger." Was quiet for a moment. Then he asked the question that had been bothering him since the battle ended. "Why did you do it? Truly, why? Humans are young in the galactic community. You have been part of the Council for less than 20 years. You owe us nothing. Saving us cost you time, resources, and risk. What did you gain?" Admiral looked at him steadily. "Do you remember, Ambassador, when humanity first applied to join the Galactic Council?" "I remember. Many species opposed it. They said humans were too aggressive, too dangerous, too unpredictable. They wanted to keep you confined to your home system. And what did you do? Lowered his eyes. I spoke in your favor. I said that every species deserves a chance to prove itself. I said that judging humans by their worst moments instead of their best was unfair. You defended us when everyone else wanted to lock us away, said, you took a risk for us, even though we could offer you nothing in return. You did it because you believed it was right. He stepped forward and placed a hand on the ambassador's shoulder. Humans remember our friends, ambassador. We remember kindness. And when our friends are in danger, we do not ask what we will gain by helping them. We simply help. Captain nodded. There's an old human saying, ambassador. The only thing necessary for evil to win is for good people to do nothing. Though we're evil, you were good people in danger. We chose to do something. Felt tears forming in his eyes. He had spent so many days being afraid, being desperate, watching his people die. Now, standing before these strange, fierce, wonderful creatures from a small blue planet, he finally allowed himself to hope again. Then perhaps, he said quietly, the galaxy is lucky that humans are exactly as dangerous as everyone feared, and far more honorable than anyone expected. Admiral smiled, spread the word, ambassador. Humanity stands with its friends, and God help anyone who threatens them. In the weeks and months that followed, the story of Prime spread across the galaxy. Every species heard about how a single human ship had destroyed an entire invasion fleet. Every species heard about how human soldiers had fought like demons to save an alien race they barely knew. Every species heard about how humans treated their friends. The swarm retreated to their home cluster and did not emerge again. They had learned that there were predators in the galaxy more dangerous than themselves. Other species looked at humanity differently now. Some were afraid. Some were curious. Some began to wonder if perhaps they had misjudged these strange, violent, surprisingly honorable creatures from Sol. And high above Prime, the hammer of Sol continued its watch, a reminder to the galaxy that friendship with humanity was valuable, and that threatening humanity's friends was the most dangerous mistake anyone could make. The stars were vast and cold and full of danger, but for all species who called humanity their friend, those stars were a little bit safer now. Because somewhere out there, humans were watching, and humans protected their own.